Giants won, Knicks won. All is right in the city, right? I know it was just a preseason game for the Knicks, but it was the home opener. So the good folks in New York who weren't at MetLife Stadium Thursday night could get their first look at the 2025 Knicks. Let's get some early thoughts about Mike Brown's offense from Jonathan Macri of Knicks Film School. J-Mac, what's going on, my man? Welcome back.
I tell you, man, it didn't feel like a preseason game to me. I mean, the team went on, what was it, a 13-0 run in the fourth quarter? It felt like the middle of May, the way the Garden was popping. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, 100 points on the night. And they needed overtime to do it, but at the end of the day, a win's a win, preseason or not. Life is always better with a dub. So thoughts on this whole, what they're calling Mike Brown's revamped offense?
I think there's two different things to talk about. There's the process and there's the execution.
Okay.
Obviously, at this point, the execution is not quite there. We saw a lot of turnovers, throughout this game that were a little sloppy, especially in transition. The team could not buy a three-point bucket. They're, I think, third from the bottom of the league in terms of three-point percentage so far in the preseason. But if you look at the process, if you look at the intention behind what they're doing, they're top 10 in three-point attempts for the preseason. The pace is a lot faster than we've seen them play in many years. And more than anything else, I would say the ball movement, you see the intentionality. And as I think we're going to talk about in a bit, they're not out there running set plays right now. He's just sending the guys out there to run, as he says, concepts and to get them used to playing with each other and playing with a certain style where there's a lot of cutting, a lot of player movement, and yes, a lot of ball movement to open things up for the offense.
All right, so that process, that tweet or him saying that he's not calling plays for these guys, learning how to develop that chemistry where guys are going to be hurt or help in the long run.
In the long run, I think it's going to help a lot. In the short run, and I think fans should be prepared for the fact that the first couple weeks of the season may not go great, at least from an offensive standpoint, because this is going to take a little bit of getting used to, because the offense it looks very different than what we've seen for 5 years under Tom Thibodeau. But the thing about an unpredictable offense in which you're not maybe calling a ton of plays is that if you don't know what you're going to do ahead of time, well, the defense can't possibly know what you're going to do. And I think one of the biggest knocks correctly on the Knicks offense the last few years was that they were incredibly predictable. Not always easy to stop, but predictable. And you contrasted that with an offense like the Indiana Pacers, who, of course, eliminated them in the last two postseasons. And that's the most unpredictable offense in the sport. And, they're not going to be the Pacers anytime soon because, again, that's – Halliburton's a certain type of player, and Rick Carlisle certainly has been doing this a long time. But I think if they could get to like 75 to 80% of a Pacers style offense in that unpredictability, it's going to benefit them immensely in April, May, and hopefully June.
So with that type of style of play, getting Josh Hart back or getting his back to 100%, how do you think he fits into this offense and the concepts within this team?
Well, it's going to be interesting because the one thing that you saw the last few games is a lot of five-out offense. Other than when Mitchell Robinson is on the floor and Mitch brings a certain level of gravity in his own right, they're putting five shooters out there. We even saw a lineup last night where Rudy Gobert, the defensive player of the year, four-time defensive player of the year, winning center for the Timberwolves, was forced to guard OG Anunoby. Or they tried to hide him on OG Anunoby, I guess would be the better way to say it, and they tried to guard Cat with a power forward. The Knicks were able to exploit that, again, because Gobert has to honor OG's shooting possibility. Josh Hart, we know, is not the proficient shooter that some of these other guys are. All that being said, in this sort of offense where, again, it values smart players making good, quick decisions, I do think Josh Hart is going to be able to thrive. It might, again, take a little bit of time, a little bit of an adjustment, but, in the right sample size, which is to say maybe not leading the league in minutes again, I think Josh Hart could be a big help. Maybe just going to have to be careful with some of the lineups they put him in terms of the spacing.
So it sounds like you've bought in to Mike Brown and his approach, and you're trusting the process. For me, I was a big Tibbs guy. I thought this guy turned the whole city around. Forget the franchise. He turned the city around, and the way people looked at New York basketball. Obviously, he didn't use his depth, the bench. there any guys so far, again, small sample size, the lesser knowns, the role players, anybody standing out to you who you're looking at it like, okay, this guy he's playing for extra minutes, or this guy's playing well enough to make this team, and we'll see what happens throughout the course of the season.
Well, let me just say I was a big Tibbs guy too. I think other than Jalen Brunson, he's the most important figure that this franchise has had in the last 5+ years. But we know how coaching works, and
Yep.
there's a reason that 5 years is a long time in the NBA for a coach to keep his job. And I think part of that has to do with the question you're asking now, in that we really didn't get to see deep, into the bench over the last 5 years, because Tibbs, if he doesn't completely trust you, he's not going to play you. I think Mike Brown has a little bit more flexibility, and I think he is going to be someone that is going to be more amenable to letting players go out there and maybe actually make some mistakes in favor of some long-term growth. And I don't know if this quite hits the question you're asking, but the honest answer that I had when you first, a player to keep an eye on, my answer is Mitchell Robinson. And look, we all know Mitch here. He's not, in any danger of getting traded or anything like that. But I think we've been waiting now for 7 years for Mitchell Robinson to put it all together in one NBA season. And yes, that means staying healthy, but also it means adding a little bit of, it doesn't have to be a lot, but little components of offensive skill, so that it's not just the offensive rebounding, then obviously the defense. I think you've seen little signs of that here in the preseason. Mike Brown entrusting Mitchell Robinson to do a little bit more. And I think that's going to go a long way in allowing him to stay on the floor for a longer time, obviously play with karl-Anthony Towns, and really open up the Knicks to reach a higher ceiling. Because, look, let's face it, the Knicks defensively by far are at their best when Mitch is on the floor. So it's a matter of, can they hit that offensive ceiling with Mitch out there as well? And I think this is the year you're going to see him make, maybe a step forward or two in that department. Little ways, nothing big here. We're not getting Mitch out there shooting threes or anything like that. But a little bit will go a long way with him.
Sounds like the process has a process. Mike Brown definitely has his hands full with this team and this franchise. But hey, either way, two wins to start the preseason. It's always a good thing. We're always smiling after W's around this city. J-Mac, appreciate you hopping on with you, man. It's a long season, so we'll be rapping a lot.
No, listen, I'll be here for the whole thing. Looking forward to talking to you. And yes, when the games start to count, it's going to get interesting then.